guys, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Trisha, and today on the Aspiring Home Cook, I'm going to show you how I make bread. This is one of my basic bread recipes that I go to on a regular basis, and it's a very highly requested recipe on the channel. So without any further delay, let's head on over to the kitchen counter and get started with today's recipe. To start off with, we're going to activate our yeast. For this, into a little bowl, we're going to put in a quarter cup of warm water. It's important to remember that the water has to be warm and not hot. If the water is too hot, it's going to kill the yeast. You should be able to submerge your finger in that water and hold it there for a while comfortably. That's how you know that the temperature is ideal. Into that bowl, I'm putting in 1.5 teaspoons of instant dried yeast and 2 teaspoons of just regular sugar. Now this sugar is not to sweeten your bread, it basically acts as food for the yeast. I'm going to give it a little stir just to mix everything around and set this bowl aside for about 5 minutes to let that yeast froth up and bloom. I kind of lost track of time and came back after about 10 minutes, but this is what I was greeted with. A nice frothy bowl of yeast. So I know that that yeast is still good and is going to work well in my bread recipe. With the yeast sorted, we're going to start on our dough. Over here, I've got 3 cups of all-purpose flour, to which I'm going to add 1 teaspoon of salt. Mix everything lightly so that that salt gets well distributed. Make a little well in the center and add in your yeast and sugar solution. Make sure to get all the little bits that may be stuck to the side of the bowl. And we're going to start mixing that yeast into the flour. Now this won't be enough to knead all of that flour into a dough. You'll have to add a little more water. The amount of water that you use really depends on the batch of flour that you're using. Add warm water gradually to the flour to knead everything to form a nice, smooth, soft dough. I ended up having to use a little over a cup of water at this time. Once the dough starts coming together, like you can see here, continue kneading this for another 5 minutes. I use a slightly stretching motion like you can see here to help develop that gluten, which enables the bread to rise and makes it nice and light. It may seem like the dough is a little sticky and tacky at this stage, but with a little kneading, you'll see that the overall consistency of the dough changes to a really nice, soft and smooth one. And after about 5 minutes of kneading, you'll be left with a dough that starts looking like this. Like you can see, it looks a little more put together at this point. Now we're going to drizzle over a little oil. I use about somewhere between 1 to 2 tablespoons. I don't really measure, I just eyeball it. And we're going to mix this into the dough. So I'm going to knead this till all of that oil is incorporated. It may seem like this is a lot of hard work, but it actually is really simple, and it is so satisfying to see that hot bread come out of the oven. Once that oil has incorporated into the dough, you're just going to roll everything to form a nice smooth ball of dough. This will help it rise a lot more effectively. I'm just drizzling a touch more oil in that bowl itself and spreading it around. This will prevent the dough from sticking to it. I'm going to tuck in that little ball of dough and go in with a little more oil just over the top. Rub that down. This prevents the dough from drying out while it's resting. All that's left to do now is just pop a lid on and leave this in a nice warm place in the house for about an hour or till the dough has doubled in volume. After an hour has passed, this is what you'll end up with. A nice light dough, and like you can see, this has significantly increased in volume. Before we can start working on it, I'm going to start prepping my baking pan. Again, I'm going to drizzle a little bit more oil in here to prevent anything from sticking. And I'm just going to brush everything evenly on the bottom and the sides as well, because as you know, these bread rolls will rise a little on the side. Back to our dough now. You can see that the dough has beautifully risen. We're now going to knock that air out of the dough. No major punching required. I'm just going to go in and deflate that air that has been created in the dough. And I'm just going to tuck in the sides to form a nice round portion of dough just like this. This just makes it easier to portion out. For today's recipe, I'm making 12 portions of these bread rolls. You can really adjust this to suit whatever sizes you'd like to have on hand. Just equally portion out all your dough, and then you're going to take each little portion, take the smoothest edge facing upwards towards you, and you're going to roll that into a little ball using your thumb to tuck the edges under. This gives you a nice, smooth, seamless finish on the top and the sides of your bread roll. Now I'm going to place it into that greased pan and continue rolling out the rest of the portions as well. Make sure you leave a little space between the bread rolls so that they rise well and puff up. I'm just going to cover this pan with a clean tea towel and leave this in a warm place to rise for about another 45 minutes or so, or until these little rolls have doubled in volume. Once that happens, this is what those bread rolls will look like. You can see that they're nice and light, they've risen well, and that's exactly what you're looking for. At this point, go ahead, preheat your oven to 180 degrees Celsius and lightly brush the tops of your bread rolls with a little water. I'm using a little water at this point to develop a little bit of a crust to the top of the rolls. You can also use milk if you'd like. A lot of times you'll see recipes call for an egg wash as well, but I really never feel the need to use an egg wash because I get beautiful results just lightly brushing these rolls with some plain water. Pop the tray into your oven that has been preheated really well and let this bake for about 25 to 30 minutes. And by about this time, you'll see a nice color developing on the top. Just pull this bread out of the oven and it looks absolutely fantastic. Don't worry about the color right now, because as soon as you pull the bread out, you're going to lightly brush the tops of it with some butter. Once you've done that, using a clean tea towel, just cover the pan for 5 minutes. This traps the steam in there and allows those rolls to get nice and soft. Once your 5 minutes are up, the bread rolls should have cooled down a little bit, making them a little easier to handle. Like you can see, they've developed a beautiful color and a nice little shine, and that too without using any milk or eggs. And at this point, we're just going to take the bread out of the pan. Remember that pan is still going to be really hot, so be careful while you're doing this. And like you can see, the bottom of those bread rolls have also baked really well and developed a nice color, and the rolls are nice and soft. And we're now going to leave this on a cooling rack to cool down a little. And there you go, guys, freshly baked bread straight out of the oven. You can see how light and spongy they are. And guys, that's how easy it is to make your own bread at home from scratch. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and share it with family and friends. Share it with anyone you think might find it handy, especially at a time like this. And go ahead and give this recipe a try. I will link the complete written recipe down in the description box below for you. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe to my channel, and once you do, don't forget to click that little bell icon so that you get notified every time I upload a new video. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'll see you really soon with another delicious recipe. So till then, take care. Bye.